You can now join as a member right from your phone. Become a member to watch the next episode before it's released. Thank you. When Xiaoyan learned that the great evil Saint Emperor possessed an inexhaustible supply of extraterritorial evil qi, he immediately understood. This battle could not continue like this any longer. Otherwise, the only outcome awaiting him would be defeat. Continuing from before, above the skies of the extreme eastern domain, the experts of the Endless Fire Domain and the Martial Realm surged forth like a roaring torrent, charging violently toward the invaders from the extraterritorial world. From the very beginning, Xiaoyan and Lin Dong had already locked their target onto the great evil Saint Emperor, paying no attention whatsoever to the other extraterritorial minions. However, when they rushed into the battlefield, they realized that the situation was far beyond their control. The opponents they had previously chosen were not so easy to encounter amidst the chaos. Within a region spanning tens of thousands of Zhang, nearly 50 heavenly sovereign-level experts were crammed together in fierce combat. The battlefield was simply too crowded, spread out. After blasting away 2 extraterritorial experts, Xiaoyan and Lin Dong immediately shouted to the forces of the Endless Fire Domain and the Martial Realm. Although a swift victory was important, preserving everyone's lives was equally critical. If they suffered heavy losses at the very start, the price would be far too great. Upon hearing their command, the numerous experts immediately dispersed. The battlefield, which had originally been confined to less than 100,000 zhang, rapidly expanded to tens of millions of miles. Seeing this maneuver, the extraterritorial experts also quickly gave chase. But this was precisely Xiaoyan's plan. Once the density of the battlefield decreased, they would finally be able to fully unleash their strength. Suddenly, a deafening explosion drew everyone's attention. In a sea region millions of miles away from Xiaoyan, space spanning tens of millions of zhang abruptly collapsed. It was Yan King Lin Yan of the Martial Realm, who had just slain a lower heavenly emperor from the extraterritorial world. But at that very moment, within the space before him, a figure that traversed tens of millions of miles of void suddenly appeared. The great evil Saint Emperor, his expression dark and grim. Seeing this, little Yan's face was filled with shock. Before he could react, the great evil Saint Emperor had already struck down with a palm. Damn it! From afar, Lin Dong went nearly mad as he rushed over the instant the great evil Saint Emperor made his move. But no matter how fast he was already too late. The moment that palm descended, the outcome was already decided. The power contained within that strike first shattered little Yan's 2 dark golden dragon wings, then completely crushed every bone in his body. All of this happened in an instant, so fast that no one could react. When the crowd finally saw clearly, little Yan had already lost consciousness, plummeting from the sky. Though his body appeared intact on the surface, every bone within him had been pulverized into dust, with no possibility of reformation. After stripping little Yan of all mobility, the great evil Saint Emperor pointed again. A colossal evil finger, hundreds of thousands of zhang in size, formed and blasted toward him. At that critical moment, a figure streaked across the sky from afar and appeared directly beneath that descending finger. It was Lin Dong, his face filled with killing intent. With his back facing the falling little Yan, he gathered all of his battle will and unleashed a single punch, shattering the evil finger into nothingness. At this point, everyone on the battlefield was utterly shocked by the great evil Saint Emperor's overwhelming strength. Xiaoyan's gaze, however, grew even more solemn. He had just been wondering when the great evil Saint Emperor would make his move. And now it had happened. After protecting little Yan's body, Lin Dong turned toward the great evil Saint Emperor and said coldly, "You shouldn't have laid a hand on my brother. This time, you won't leave this battlefield alive." Throughout Lin Dong's cultivation journey, little Yan and little Martin, the 2 companions who had stood by his side from the very beginning, held irreplaceable importance to him, especially little Yan, the brother he had raised since birth. From a small cub picked up in the forest to a powerful existence capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with him against the Yuan Gate's three great leaders. Little Yan had long become his right-hand pillar. Whether family, friends, or brothers, what Lin Dong could never tolerate above all was seeing them harmed. For that, he would oppose anyone without hesitation, and the great evil Saint Emperor's attack on Little Yan was no different from severing one of Lin Dong's arms. From that moment on, the great evil Saint Emperor was placed on Lin Dong's kill list. Whether I return alive to the extraterritorial world, that's not for you to decide. The great evil Saint Emperor sneered. Then try me. Lin Dong roared in fury. Under his command, the battle will of heaven and earth condensed into a divine spear, carrying destructive power as it shot toward the great evil Saint Emperor. However, in the clash that followed, Lin Dong gradually fell into a disadvantage. Though his rage surged, he still could not overcome the great evil Saint Emperor. In the end, he had underestimated his opponent. At that moment, Xiao moved. In an instant, he shot toward Lin Dong, who was already at a disadvantage. Martial ancestor, didn't you just say I wouldn't leave alive? Yet this situation is quite disappointing. As he forced Lin Dong back step by step, the great evil Saint Emperor sneered. He slowly raised his hand. Boundless demonic qi gathered, forming a colossal palm hundreds of thousands of zhang in size, which slammed down toward Lin Dong. Such an attack would require even a peak great perfection heavenly sovereign to face it with full strength. But just as the devastating palm descended from the distant horizon, a blazing figure tore through space and arrived. A figure engulfed in brilliant flames, Xiao. As he appeared beneath the demonic palm, his Emperor Flame Fist exploded forth with world-destroying power. In mere moments, the palm was shattered completely. The great evil Saint Emperor flipped his hand again, and endless evil qi condensed into tidal waves, roaring toward Xiao with destructive force. Xiao responded by rushing forward. Within just a dozen breaths, the great evil Saint Emperor launched nearly 10 attacks, all of which Xiao shattered, using the power of his destruction flame body. However, Xiao knew this battle could not continue like this. Otherwise, defeat was inevitable, because his destruction flame body was already approaching its limit, and the duration he could maintain, it was growing shorter. Meanwhile, the great evil Saint Emperor possessed an endless supply of extraterritorial evil qi. At that moment, Xiao turned his gaze behind him. There, Lin Dong, clad entirely in battle-will armor, had completely withdrawn his consciousness from the battlefield. Is he preparing something? Xiao narrowed his eyes. In his estimation, Lin Dong was likely preparing a far more lethal move. For the great evil Saint Emperor! Xiao glanced once more at his opponent, silently calculating the time. Then, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his lips. Looks like the time has come. Do you know just how terrifying Xiao final trump card is? With a single strike, he directly destroyed the true body of the great evil Saint Emperor. Picking up from before, as Xiao voice fell, a palm-sized jade box appeared in his hand. He opened it. Inside lay a dark red pill, its surface engraved with 9 colored flame runes. This was Xiao final trump card. Once used, he had to be absolutely certain that he could either kill or severely wound the great evil Saint Emperor in one blow. However, just as Xiao was about to use the pill, the heavens and earth suddenly churned behind him. A terrifying surge of battle intent gathered like a tidal wave. Xiao turned his head. He saw that the battle intent armor covering Lin Dong had completely shattered into countless fragments. But when Lin Dong's gaze met his, Xiao could clearly feel it. Compared to just a few minutes ago, Lin Dong had undergone an indescribable transformation. It was as if he had completed some kind of metamorphosis. At the same time, the gathered battle intent condensed into 100 zhang colossal battle intent dragon, which roared toward the great evil Saint Emperor. Seeing Lin Dong take action again, Xiao moved and swiftly retreated to the edge of the battlefield. He raised his hand. The dark red flame-patterned pill was grasped and swallowed. This was a saint pill known as the Great Flame Pill. Its effect was to allow Xiaoyan's destruction flame body to double its power within an extremely short span of 10 breaths. It was a special pill personally refined by Xiaoyan according to his own condition. However, it came with a side effect. For 3 months after using it, he would be unable to utilize any flame-attributed power. But in the current situation, he had no choice. After Xiaoyan swallowed the Great Flame Pill, all of its power flowed into his supreme sea. The medicinal force erupted instantly, transforming into a vast and boundless flame energy that enveloped his entire body. The aura emanating from him was far stronger than before. At that moment, far away, the great evil Saint Emperor who was fighting Lin Dong suddenly changed expression, because Xiaoyan's current strength had reached a level that even made him feel a fatal threat. Across from him, Lin Dong also sensed this power. Although he did not know how Xiaoyan had increased his strength so drastically in an instant, he had to admit, if Xiaoyan had used this power from the beginning, then in their earlier clash, no matter what methods Lin Dong used, he would not have been his opponent. Martial ancestor losing focus in battle is not a good thing. Demonic transformation palm. A deep voice came from the great evil Saint Emperor. Endless evil qi gathered in the heavens and earth, forming a massive demonic palm, tens of thousands of jang in size, which slammed toward Lin Dong. Before Lin Dong could react, the palm had already struck him. At the moment of impact, his seemingly powerful chest was crushed and collapsed. The gap in strength between Lin Dong and the great evil Saint Emperor was more than tenfold. Naturally, Lin Dong could not withstand such power. The instant his chest caved in, blood gushed wildly from his mouth. His consciousness began to fade. His body was blasted like a cannonball, falling toward the shattered void below. With just that single clash, Lin Dong was gravely injured on the verge of death and fell unconscious. This scene was seen by the experts of the martial realm. In that instant, everyone went mad. Little Martin's eyes turned bloodshot, wishing he could rush forward and tear the great evil Saint Emperor apart. However, at that moment, a faint flame suddenly erupted. The barrier formed by Emperor Flame gradually dissipated, revealing Xiaoyan's figure. At this time, Xiaoyan had completely dispersed his destruction flame body, or rather, all of its power had been condensed into his hand. There was a tiny, inch-long, extremely hot flame needle. Martial ancestor, your efforts will not be in vain. Looking at Lin Dong falling into the abyss, Xiaoyan muttered softly. Then his gaze locked onto the great evil Saint Emperor above the demonic seal. Let's end this. As his low voice fell, a streak of light shot out. The flame needle in Xiaoyan's hand transformed into a beam of light and shot forward. Unlike before, it did not leave scorching heat in its wake. Yet everything it passed was reduced to nothingness, because all of its heat had been compressed to the absolute extreme, with almost no leakage. At this moment, the great evil Saint Emperor stared at the incoming flame needle. He could not even judge how powerful it was, nor was he certain he could stop it. A furious roar erupted from his mouth. It's just a needle. Trying to bluff. As the supreme existence of the outer realms, he would not allow himself to be threatened by such a tiny attack. Disappear. With a furious shout, he mobilized all of his evil qi. With a single finger strike, endless evil energy condensed into a massive demonic finger that pressed downward. It collided with the flame needle. However, the power of the flame needle far exceeded his expectations. Just as he thought the demonic finger could block it for a moment, Xiaoyan merely smiled faintly. Before everyone's horrified eyes, the flame needle pierced through the demonic finger as if passing through soft mud, and continued shooting toward the great evil Saint Emperor. How is that possible? His full-powered attack could not even delay it for an instant. This was something he could not accept. In 10,000 years as the great Saint Emperor, he had never suffered such humiliation. Not even the top experts of the great thousand world had pushed him to this extent. You damned ants. His furious roar shook the heavens and earth. Within millions of miles, space trembled violently. Then, endless evil qi surged around him, forming a boundless ocean of darkness. From it, a colossal Saint Emperor true body, millions of zhang in size, stepped out. This was his strongest technique, the great evil saint body. However, at the very moment the true body appeared, the flame needle had already pierced straight through its chest. Before the great evil Saint Emperor could even activate this form, a massive hole, nearly 1,000,000 zhang wide, had already been blasted through its torso. Since the great evil saint body was his true body, the destruction it suffered was directly reflected onto him. A hole the size of a head appeared in his own chest. Everything happened in an instant. He had no time to react. By the time he came back to his senses, it was already over. His true body had completely collapsed, and his aura rapidly faded away. This battle between two worlds had finally come to an end, or so everyone thought, because at that moment, time itself suddenly stopped. The entire world was frozen by some unknown law. The severely injured Lin Dong, all the experts who had experienced the battle, the surging ocean below, even the slowly repairing space, everything was frozen in that instant, except for one person, Xiao. You can now join as a member right from your phone. Become a member to watch the next episode before it's released. Thank you.